Hi folks, and welcome back to another video. Today we're looking at the Crusader tank by Airfix. This is a rather old boxing, as you can see there, really old style typeset. Lovely, beautiful artwork there as well. I think it's really, really nice. And this dates from about 1971, I believe this was released initially. I don't think this is in production anymore. I've heard stories online about molds being lost and things like that. And also that the tank itself, the model itself, is slightly out of scale to 00 or 176. And that is true, actually. It does go between scales from various parts of the tank, but that's another story. Today anyway, as I say, we're looking at this. This is a tank that was released about 1941, initially armed with a 2-pounder and then a 6-pounder. And in fairness to Airfix, they give both turret options, variant options, the Crusader 2 and Crusader 3 in this kit, which is quite nice. Neither of which I'll be using. Actually, I'll be using a conversion kit from S&S Models, S&S models.co.uk, I think it is. Basically that will convert it to a twin 20mm anti-aircraft support vehicle, shall we call it, or support tank, whatever it is. Because for my British tank battalion, for rapid fire purposes, I need an anti-aircraft element, and this will be it. So that's it. Let's have a look at the side of the box while we're at it. So the side of the box there, as you can see, has a lovely little rendition of the Panzer IV tank and the Leopard tank as well. Again, the artwork is gorgeous on these. And again, the old style typeset. It says, for best results, use Airfix adhesive and paint number silver G8, black M6, green M3 and buff M14, in brackets not included. The other side of the box here, as you can see, you have a depiction of the 88mm gun and tractor, and the Scammell, I think it is, tank transport on the right there, and again, repetition there of the information around about the paints. You can see there's a little perforated area there. I think that was for kind of a pegboard thing, that would be popped up, possibly for shop display. I won't be doing that to it anyway. I'm going to keep this box and maybe even trim it out and frame it. I have notions of framing box tops, and I've collected quite a few, so one of the days I'll get around to that. And this will definitely be in that. Ends of the box there, both the same either end. As you can see, it just says Crusader tank, Airfix 00, pattern number A210V, and made in England. So let's have a look at the instructions. Well, as you can see, there has the old Airfix logo in the top left-hand corner. It says Crusader tank Mark II or Mark III, and it said all Airfix fighting vehicles construction kits are made to a constant 00 or 4mm to the foot scale. As I say, a little bit debatable with this particular one. Gives a little bit of a blurb there in both, or should I say, in English and both French and German about the tank itself. It's quite good, and some usual information around assembly and general instructions. As you can see there, step 1 is put your turret together for, that's the Crusader 2 with the 2-pounder gun. Step 2 is the Crusader 3, so you'll be using the 6-pounder gun in that instance. And then at the bottom there, just to shove it up there for you so you can see a little bit, you can see that you're putting the the turret into the top section of the hull, putting on some side skirting and some of the parts that there, part 24 and 21, which will be for the wheel assemblies. And then you are ready to rock and roll onto the next step. Section 4 there shows the wheel assemblies going on in various bits at the back there, the engine and fuel tanks and bits and bobs, or storage areas, whatever it is, and the tracks, of course, as well. And then in part 5, you have the alternate parts there for the Crusader 2 or Crusader 3. So the Crusader 2 had a kind of a hull-mounted light machine gun, whereas the Crusader 3 did away with that. In section 6 there, again, you can just see the various assembly parts there to go on there. I think that little kind of external fuel tank is at the back there, parts 75, 77 and 76. And then in part 7 you have some painting information, and again it gives you the old paint numbers and that, which would have been, I presume, old Airfix paints at the time. I actually haven't got any of those. Had back in the day as a kid, but haven't had them in quite a while. I think they're not manufactured anymore, so you'd have to pick them up on eBay or that. But I mean, they could be solid inside in the tins at this stage, in fairness. So decals go on there. It shows the various options for decals. It gives you 2. It gives you the 1st Army 17 and 21st Lancers 6th Armored Division, and it also gives you the 8th and 8th Army version for the Crusader 2, which is the does it say? It just says 8th Army. 10th Hussars actually 1st Armored Division, and that would be in kind of a sand. That's the M14, the buff M14. Kind of sand color, beige sand camouflage, and that's basically it. I'll be doing it in a kind of a green Humbrol 179, I think it is, to match in with my British Airfix Shermans, but so I won't be using anything like these Airfix recommended colors. It'll be matching in with a different battalion. So let's have a look at some of the bits in the box, shall we? Just as a matter of interest, this also came in the box. It's just a little piece of little pamphlet saying that the Airfix range includes over 300 kits and various other bits and pieces about electric racing sets, and that there's an Airfix magazine. Obviously this is well out of date, but at the same time it's nice to have these little bits on the back of it. Then as well, you have if you have any complaints, you can fill them in and send them off to the complaint department there in Airfix in London. I'm sure if I sent that away now, I'd get a fine reply. The decals contained within the box itself are fairly old and have yellowed and that. I'd say they probably still work, but I won't be using, certainly won't be using them, I'd imagine. I'll be using some excess Sherman decals to match in with that battalion I mentioned for rapid fire purposes. But in fairness, as I say, apart from the yellowing, I'd say they'd be okay. Quick look at the tracks there. The tracks are quite thin. They would have been originally rubbery. They're a little bit brittle. In fact, there's a break there. You can see on the third section in there, the kind of kink that's there in the track itself. There's actually a split there where it's actually broken. So that's going to be a bit of a challenge. Trying to get that to cooperate, but we'll see how we get on. I'm sure we can manage to get some sort of a decent job done of it, but fingers crossed anyway. Okay, so quick look at the sprues. So this sprue here has the upper hull section. Obviously, you can see there where the turret will go and where the frontal hull turret for the machine will go on the Cruiser 2, and there'll be a little cap, a little blank section that will go over that to blank that off for the Crusader 3. Various other bits and pieces and hull sides there as well. Here you can see the two turrets and a few bits and pieces there as well. As I say, it's quite cool that Airfix gave the option of having the Mark II or the Mark III variant, so I quite like that. As I say, unfortunately, I won't be using either of those, but at the same time, I think it's a very, very, very nice looking turret there, in fairness, and I think it would be quite nice if I'm going to use it. What I will do is I'll assemble them anyway, and I'll put them on the tank and paint them up and all the rest of it, and you can have a look and see how they appear, but I will be using, as I say, an alternate turret system, which I'll show you as well. Wheels and bits and bobs, yeah, you can see front drive, etc., main road wheels. This is a Christie suspension, of course, which is similar to what the Russians used in the T-34, I suppose, and those BT-7s and things like that. Fairly decent technology for its time. You know, there you go. There you have wheels. There's nice detail on them. It's fairly basic, but that's what it is. You can see the turret there for the hull machine gun. It's sort of a raised turret piece, and you can see the machine guns for the turret for the main turret for the tank, and one or two little other bits and pieces stowage there as well. So here we have some side skirts there. You have the two guns for the tank. You have the 6-pounder in the top right hand corner, and beside it the 2-pounder. So it's quite nice. But as I say, I won't be using those for the finish. But off you go. And various bits and pieces there. The bottom floor, the hull itself, and the sides there for the wheels to go on. So this is the sum total of pieces required for the conversion to an AA version. So basically you have the turret piece there, which is white resin, and that'll just be painted up, and then you have the twin 20mm guns that go in the front there. They just have to be trimmed and tied up a little bit and glued in position. You have two stowage pieces, which I presume are for ammunition or gun cleaning equipment, and you have a little base for a turret to adhere to with a little spigot or spike there to drop into the aperture on the hull of the tank. So I'm going to crack on with this and get it primed and sorted out and all the rest of it, and painted up, and get the decals on and a bit of weathering and all the rest of it. And I'll be back to you in 2 seconds with the finished result. Okay, so we've returned with the completed tank. Here I just have the 6-pounder turret on it, just for comparison's sake, because that's the one that's shown on the box art, although I will be using an AA conversion from S&S models.co.uk. But at the end of the day, this is the one that comes with the box art, so it'd just be nice to show you what it looked like. We'll do a little comparison with a Hasegawa version as well, just for comparison's sake. Happy enough with the vehicle? Absolutely, yeah. The kit, nice little kit, went together handily enough, no major issues at all. Very basic Humbrol matte 159 coat of paint, a little bit of dry brushing, a little bit of null and oil over it, just to give a bit of shading, and away you go. And that was it, basically. Nothing more dramatic than that. I have to say, very straightforward kit. Nothing too outlandish there at all. Here's the same kit, of course, with the 2-pounder turret. As I say, I won't be using this, they'll be going into the spares box, but nice to see what it looks like anyway. In fairness, as I say, the 2-pounder would be a little bit early war. For me, I can generally do sort of post-D-Day Northwest Europe or European Theatre of Operations sort of scenarios mainly, so that wouldn't be one I'd be using, but at the same time into the spares box, and perhaps it might see action another day. So this is the turret that I was putting on it, which is from S&S models.co.uk, I believe it is. Very easy to put together. It's just a bit of resin, a few bits of metal, off you go, and plonk it on there, and that was it basically. So it's twin 20mm anti-aircraft guns, obviously be fairly devastating for a ground attack as well. You know, infantry support, that kind of thing, but primarily used as a anti-aircraft vehicle, in fairness. As I say, adds a bit of weight to the kit as well. There's a bit of weight in that resin, so handy on the old Wargames table. The decals used there are from the Airfix Sherman, the British version, and basically just a few spares that I just put on. So that's where the decals are coming from. We'll have a look at the rear of the vehicle so you can see what it looks like from that side too. So rear of the vehicle there, as you can see, it is basically just all in one colour. The decal there, of course, again from the Airfix Sherman set, and a little bit of detail there on the back of it. Nothing too outlandish. As I say, it's quite an old kit, so not too much in it anyway. And as I say, we'll have a comparison with the Hasegawa kit, just so you can see how they marry up to each other. Okay, so our Hasegawa example there is a bit of a split in the front, as you can see, because it's literally come off the young lad's bedroom floor. Little bit of a difference in the shape of the turret in the top there, a little bit of a difference in width, not much, a bit more noticeable in the tracks actually. Detail, of course, as well, slightly better perhaps on the Hasegawa variant, but other than that, you know, as I say, they probably look fairly well together on a Wargames table. Rear comparison there, and as you can see, the Hasegawa on the left has a little bit of height, I think, maybe on it in the body. Certainly the rear tank section there is a little bit larger, but in fairness, the Airfix is matching in fairly well there. So tank's a little bit smaller, as again the rear external tank at the back there, and turret shape and detail a little bit different. But other than that, as I say, I'd be quite happy with those if they were painted up the same colour and the same unit markings and run a Wargames table in my place. So as I say, that's up to yourself. So that was the review of the Airfix Crusader tank in 1/76 scale, or O scale as it states there on the box. Lovely piece of artwork, as I said earlier. Love those boxes; they're really cool. I will not be discarding that box. That's that's a keeper. That one there. The model itself, as I said, liked it. Yeah, very easy to put together. Would I recommend you try and track this down for yourself? Yeah, absolutely. Why not? It's not been made at the moment, as I say, but and probably won't be in the future. But if you can find it online somewhere, I'd say go for it. It's a nice little kit to have. And if you're an aficionado of the older classic kits, this is one you should definitely have. And I will say the conversion from S&S models.co.uk, as I say, I don't know those guys, I'm not affiliated or anything, but as I say, I get a few bits and pieces here and there, and I have a few other bits coming up that I've used some of their products on. I really like them. I must say they're a good little company to deal with, and their products are good, and I really like the way that turned out. So top marks to those guys from me as well. So I hope you liked the video, and that you like and subscribe and share and all that business, and we will be back to you very, very soon with another review. Thank you. All the best. Stay safe.